In some very unexpected news today, the world was just introduced to the first American Pope in history, Robert Prevost, who will take the name Pope Leo XIV. Trump, for his part, wasted no time in welcoming the new Pope, writing on Truth Social, "Congratulations to Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, who was just named Pope. It was such an honor to realize he is the first American Pope. What excitement and what a great honor for our country. I look forward to meeting Pope Leo XIV. It will be a very meaningful moment." He echoed those same sentiments here.
Again, to have the Pope from the United States of America, that's a great honor. That's a great honor.
Now, I'm not going to pretend that I'm a pro at predicting the future, but something tells me that these are probably the last kind words that are going to be shared between Trump and the new Pope. And that's because when you head on over to his Twitter account, well, let's just say that this Pope probably wasn't cheering on the January 6th insurrectionists. Here's the most recent post where he retweeted, "As Trump and Bukele use Oval to laugh at Fed's illicit deportation of a U.S. resident, once an undocumented Salvadorian himself, now DC Ox and Avilio asks, do you not see the suffering? Is your conscience not disturbed? How can you stay quiet?" And linked to that post is an article written by Bishop Avilio decrying the fact that the federal government has pursued a shock and awe campaign of aggressive threats and highly visible operations of questionable legality that go far beyond mere immigration enforcement. But that's just the beginning, because if you scroll down on that Twitter feed, you'll find a tweet that reads, "Pope Francis's letter, J.D. Vance's Ordo Amoris, and what the gospel asks all of us on immigration." And that post links to an article that ends, "The gospel does not offer a charter for how to legislate about immigration. It does offer a standard for how far we are to go to love our neighbor and a refusal to accept the limits we might be comfortable with on who our neighbors are. The question we need to answer is whether we judge our politics according to the gospel or the other way around." The next tweet after that, a direct shot at J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is wrong. Jesus doesn't ask us to rank our love for others. In fact, the new Pope's anti-Trump bend has been apparent for a decade. Back in 2015, 10 years ago, he tweeted a Washington Post op-ed written by Cardinal Dolan entitled, "Why Donald Trump's Anti-Immigrant Rhetoric is So Problematic." And that includes the paragraph, "I am not in the business of telling people what candidates they should support or who deserves their votes, but as a Catholic, I take seriously the Bible's teachings that we are to welcome the stranger, one of the most frequently mentioned moral imperatives in both the Old and New Testament." And of course, leave it to the party of the evangelicals when the literal Pope goes up against a convicted felon and serial sexual predator whose platform is that refugees should be sent to foreign gulags and that billionaires need a tax break to defend the latter. Megyn Kelly tweeted, "Is it too much to hope that some 20-year-old ran the new Pope's X account and he never looked at it?" Jack Posobiec tweeted, "Here is the new Pope attacking Trump." Matt Wallace tweeted, "I was considering becoming Catholic, not anymore." Not to forget the most influential voice in modern right-wing politics, Cat Turd 2 tweeted, "Nightmare." And just in case you feel like you have too many brain cells and wanted to kill some off, take a listen to what Charlie Kirk has to say.
Hey everybody, there is a new Pope, and the Pope is from Chicago. What do we actually know about this new Pope? Well, the Pope is from Chicago. I am as well. He served in Peru. By the way, I'm not Catholic, by the way. I'm evangelical, but it still matters who the Pope is. He is a registered Republican and voted in Republican primaries and ran a pro-life group at Villanova University, so that's a good sign. Also has some, let's just say, not so great tweets about having some willingness for open borders. We'll see kind of how he is on that. Also some George Floyd stuff that I'm not too crazy about. But overall, it seems like he's a pro-life warrior. There's a lot yet to learn about this Pope, but I hope that he will be a strong advocate for strong borders and for sovereignty. The first ever American Pope. You gotta wonder, why is it that they picked an American Pope? Could be a coincidence, could be nothing, or is it they want a voice that is also for the opening of American borders while we have President Trump? Who knows? Let's see. But by the way, borders are biblical. Close your borders. Love your people. You should, of course, love everyone. The best way to love them is to have them make their countries great. And our God is a God of order, a God of structure, and does not want millions of people who we do not know coming into our country in the dilution of sovereignty. So there's a new Pope. A lot more to learn about it, and congratulations to all Catholics who are excited about it. Some people are saying he's super liberal. We know he was a registered Republican. Time will tell. And we'll keep all Christians in our prayers, Catholics included, that this is for the betterment of humanity.
Yes, hopefully the Pope will be pro-strong borders like Donald Trump. Hopefully he too will be falling over himself to expel people seeking refuge to foreign gulags and max security prisons, because after all, isn't that what Jesus would have wanted? And look, I'm certainly no authority on Christianity or any religion, although by birthright I feel like I'm somewhat of an authority on bagels and guilt, but I am grateful that the Pope was willing to use his platform to actually represent the values of Christianity and not allow people like Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and the rest of these MAGA goons in the GOP to completely co-opt and pervert that religion. Somewhere along the line, these Republican politicians and operatives have made themselves the arbiters of what Christianity actually is and what it isn't. And surprise, surprise, they decided that all of their far-right political priorities were all validated by Jesus and the Bible. Convenient, huh? But I can say with some degree of certainty that in reality, Trump's platform and the MAGA platform itself runs wholly and completely antithetical to the teachings of all religions, but especially Christianity. He and Republicans are moving to strip the sick and elderly of health care by cutting $880 billion from Medicaid, a crucial lifeline to millions of low-income Americans and children, and $230 billion from food stamps. They're passing a tax cut right now that overwhelmingly favors the rich, in stark contrast to Scripture condemning luxury. It was Jesus who said that it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for someone who is rich to enter heaven. And yet, their entire economic agenda is a giveaway to those very people. And just weeks ago, Donald Trump condemned Abrego Garcia with zero evidence and zero due process to a foreign prison in the country from which he sought refuge. I mean, come on, people. Jesus Christ himself was literally a refugee. How much more diametrically opposed to the teachings of Christ could you get than attacking refugees in the name of a refugee? Trump and his mouthpieces will hide behind Christianity while supporting policies that stand in stark contrast to the actual values of that religion. Let's not pretend we don't know what Jesus himself stood for. He was an immigrant who said to help the poor, welcome strangers, and called hypocrites wolves in sheep's clothing. And finally, I'll end with this. For those who still want to give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt as to his Christian bona fides, do not forget that he was asked to name his favorite Bible verse, an otherwise basic question, at least for anyone who purports to follow the teachings of Christ. And here's what he had to say.
I'm wondering what one or two of your most favored Bible verses are and why.
I wouldn't want to get into it because to me that's very personal. You know, when I talk about the Bible, it's very personal, so I don't want to get into verses. I don't want to get into...
There's no verse that means a lot to you that you think about or cite?
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
Even to cite a verse that
you
like?
No, I don't want to do that.
Which brings me to my favorite Bible verse. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.